It's Leo Cloutier's With Malice Toward None. This is Dick Hill speaking for Leo Cloutier and myself. Again, we talked to Leo about his experiences in the world of sports, about the friends he's gathered in more than 40 years of sports commenting and sports reporting as a revered and respected gentleman in particularly the world of baseball. Leo, we left you sitting in the dugout with the Babe, and Babe had told Lou Gehrig, take my bats. So my batting practice the next two times, I've got to spend 15 minutes interviewing with this chap here. Now, I know that you've got an interview somewhere buried in all your memorabilia that is here, but I know that you can't find it at the moment, and I know that we haven't got time to hear it all anyway. But can you remember any highlights for us?
Yes, well, of course, the Babe first introduced me to Lou Gehrig, or rather to Joe McCarthy, and a few of the other players, Tony Lasseri, I recall right now, Frank Crosetti, and, of course, Red Roth had just come up with the ball club then. But anyway, he was an exceptional person. When anybody went to see the Yankees play, I don't think it mattered who the other 8 players were, as long as there was a fellow in left field wearing number 3 by the name of Babe Ruth. And all of the attention throughout the entire game was always centered on him, what he did and what he didn't do, and what he anticipated. And then you always awaited his time at bat. You always hoped that he would be at bat every inning. And when he did, Dick, this man would stand up there and take his licks. And he'd swing that bat of his as though it was a toothpick. And whenever he missed, he looked more impressive in striking out and turning himself into a corkscrew than when he hit a home run. Because when he hit a home run, it was a flick of the wrist, and the ball would go 17 miles high and 19 miles away. It was really a picture to see. No one has ever swung like him. No one ever looked like him in swinging after a ball. I asked him what kind of a season he was going to expect it to have, and he told me. And he told me about the number of home runs he was hoping to hit. I forget right now, but when I find that interview, I want to read it paragraph by paragraph, or question and answer by question and answer. But he did say that the Yankees would win the pennant, and they went on to win the pennant. And that's the World Series in which they played the Chicago Cubs, and he pointed to the center field bleachers after he'd been heckled by the Chicago Cub bench for something that he had said. He had made some comment that the Chicago Cub team was a group of cheapies, so to speak, for not giving Mark Coney a full share of the World Series cut. And as a result, when he came to bat, the players on the Chicago Cub team booed him. So the Babe then stood up there and he pointed to the center field bleachers with a count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. And on the next pitch, he delivered Charlie Root's ball way out into the center field bleachers. And when he reached third base, crossed third base, and then headed towards home, he looked at the Chicago Cub bench, and they all rose up and gave him a tremendous hand.
Did he tip his hat?
Oh, yes, he did.
Gladly. he used to play to the fans anyway, didn't he, Leo?
Yes, but this was instinctively. He was not that kind of a showman. He was a showman by instinct. Whatever he did, you admired. He had charisma, which I've never seen anybody like him have that charisma. And, you know, he wasn't the best, well-behaved athlete. He just had those attributes which you could never take away from him. He was a God-created ball player, and that's just what he was.
And everybody loved him, I know that.
Oh, they did.
And I'm curious to know, you must have met the Babe after that first time.
Oh, several times. In fact, whenever the Yankees played in Fenway Park, I would make it a practice to go and see the entire series of games which they would play. And they were never more than 3, and sometimes, on rare occasions, 4. But they used to play 3 game series, and I'd go into every game and would talk with the Babe each time.
How'd you get back on the field?
Well, then after that, I got close to Joe Cronin, and Cronin made it possible for me to get on the field. And then I went through Eddie Collins upstairs and figured this had to be done because I wasn't going to crawl on all 4s every time I went to Fenway Park.
Even though you had your own private cage.
That's right. That's so true.
Babe set many records. I know that one of the long-standing records was the 60 home runs.
Yes, that 60 home run total that he hit in 1927. Number 60 was hit off lefty Tom Zachary. Will stand for a long time, although Roger Maris is credited with hitting 61 in 61. But Roger Maris, the schedule that he played was 162 games. And Babe played in a schedule which totaled 154 games. Hank Aaron did hit during his career 755 home runs, while the Babe hit 714. But it must be remembered that Hank Aaron went to bat something like 8 to 1,000 times more than Babe Ruth. And those figures you must take into consideration when you make comparisons. Baseball is a game of statistics, 99% statistics and 1% opinion. And therefore, when you have the facts and figures in front of you, there's no debating that. And the Babe hit 50 or more home runs at least 4 times. And he was consistently a slugger, of course, but he also compiled over a period of 22 years a batting average of 342, which is quite a figure when you consider. His slugging percentage was 694, and that is number 1 in Major League Baseball, despite the fact that Hank Aaron hit 755 home runs. He is nowhere near the Babe or Ted Williams in slugging percentage.
Now, what's slugging percentage?
Slugging percentage is, for instance, it's the number of bases you get on a hit. Let's say that you got a triple, your slugging percentage is 750. If you got a home run, it's 1,000. You've covered 4 bases. You have achieved the maximum number of bases on the hit that you got.
So 654, is that what?
694.
694, that'd be very close to somewhere between a double and a triple.
That's right.
Wow, I see. And that's an average of every time you belt it.
That's right. And Williams had 634. Babe had 694.
Fantastic. Now I understand what a slugging percentage is, and I'm sure that a great many more baseball fans do. Leo, I've known you some time, and I've noticed that you have several pictures of the Babe around. Pictures other than the original picture taken when you were breaking through into Fenway Park's ball field there to talk to the Babe the first time. You must have met him on several occasions.
Yes, Dick, I certainly did, and it seemed as though every time that I met him, I had the urge to have a picture taken with him. It's a wonder that at that age I did have the presence of mind because the Babe got to be such an outstanding person, an outstanding athlete, and, of course, a Major League ball player, the greatest in the history of the game, as a result of a poll conducted by Commissioner Bowie Coombs 2 years ago. The picture which I prize the most probably is the first one, where I shown shaking hands with the Babe, and there's the Babe, full-size picture. And then, of course, after that, I had the pleasure of having him in another picture with Lou Gehrig, and then another occasion with Rabbit Mirandel, who was an outstanding shortstop and a comedian at the same time for the Boston Braves. And then I had others taken, on the lawn of the Eastern Slopes in North Conway, New Hampshire. The Bambino was playing in the White Mountain Championship Golf Tournament with Gene Sarazen and Jogger McSpadden, to name 2. And I happened to cover the tournament for the Burn Reporter and also the Boston Post at the time. I was a correspondent for the Boston Post, New Hampshire area. And when I saw the Babe and his lovely wife, we had lunch together, and my wife, the person who is now my wife, Laura, we weren't married at the time, but she was with me. And we had a picture taken with the Babe and his daughter Julia and Laura and myself. Julia, incidentally, still lives in North Conway. She was the postmistress at Kearsarge for a number of years, but now I think she's more or less retired. And that was another occasion where we had a picture taken with the Babe in North Conway.
Well, you certainly have had some wonderful pictures taken, and it's been an experience, I'm sure. I know that you said Connie Mack was probably the most influential man to get you started in journalism, particularly baseball journalism. I'm sure the Babe also was influential in helping you stay there.
Well, the Babe certainly was, because, he treated you like a human being, so to speak, even though I was just a kid at the time. I guess he realized that I loved the game and loved to be in his presence, in the presence of Major League ball players. He always made it pleasant, and it certainly helped to build my love for the game and for the people in it.
Well, thanks for sharing these experiences with us, Leo. This brings us to the end of With Malice Toward None. Until the next time, at this same time, this is Dick Hill speaking for Leo Cloutier and myself, and sending each of you our best wishes.
Brought to you by Poster Fix. At Poster Fix, we bring your vintage posters back to life. To learn more about Leo Cloutier's sports world, visit leocloutier.com.